Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. There's never been a better time to be in the retail automotive industry. Our great friends from Dynatron Software are with us. Maureen Martin is here. She'll be moderating this panel on turning uncertainty into profit. Maureen, welcome, and you've brought some colleagues.
Oh, we couldn't ask for better partners than you see here on the Dynatron panel today. And honestly, talking about the fact that uncertainty and turning it into profits is the most important thing to be talking about right now. Leaning into fixed operations more than ever is going to be key to profitability and retention. And really, we're going to talk a little bit today about confidence. So I wanted to introduce our panelists today. First, we have with us Mike Weldon. Mike is a veteran industry expert. Had the pleasure of working with him for almost 3 decades, Mike. We go back all the way to when I was at Ford Motor Company. Also with us, we have Cindy Lentz. She is the Corporate Fixed Ops Director for Germain Automotive Partnership. Thank you, Cindy, for being here. We also have Jennifer Swope. Jennifer is the Chief Operating Officer of the Swope family of dealerships. You may recognize her as an Automotive News 40 Under 40. Thank you for being with us, Jennifer. And last but not least, a friend to the Fixed Ops Roundtable is one of my colleagues, Trevor Shannon. Trevor is our Price Smart Product Manager. We're going to be digging into how do we turn uncertainty into profits today. But for the first time on the Fixed Ops Roundtable, you're going to get a chance to see a sneak peek of the new platform that Dynatron has come out with, which is our ROI, our Repair Order Insights. And it's really just going to accent what we're going to talk about today. So when we look at how important it is for our dealership employees, our leaders, our group leaders to really be able to turn this uncertainty into profits, fixed operations is where we need to go. You have heard Les Silver, our executive chairman, often talk about how important it is to have the perfect price. And in order to do that, we know that we need to not only understand our own dealerships, but understand the market. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask a series of questions, and I really appreciate you giving really your retail experience and tying to how do we build that confidence? Because we would all agree right now, our consumers, our guests, our most important part of our dealership families are our customers. And there's not a lot of confidence out there right now. So we know that also is going to have an impact on our team. And it's really the leaders that make that happen. So Mike, I'm going to start with you. When we really look at how do we build confidence, not only for our leaders, but for our dealership team, how important is it for you to have a repair variable pricing strategy that's actually set by the leadership team? And how do you go about doing that?
Well, I think it really starts even before that. I think, and we in this industry look at 2 things usually, and that's gross and net. But we really don't know how to get there, or at least we think we know how to get there, and that's by driving high prices that sometimes the consumers have a very hard digesting, and then our competition, which is the independents, have keyed off on that. So the first thing we've got to learn is to be competitive in the market, and that's where you have variable pricing, variable labor rates, and with the ultimate goal is selling shop hours. If we can eliminate all the dollar factor, we make money when we sell hours. And so you've got to learn to be competitive where you need to be to drive the traffic into the drive, and then use the appropriate matrices to manage that, and drive the end result. And if you do that, your outcome is going to be exactly what you're intending it to be. It may not necessarily drive your percentages the same direction as we've all been accustomed and trained to, but I think that the thing that you need to really look at is the gross dollars that you want to generate for your department. And that's based on volume in most cases.
And Mike, what kind of tools do you use to be able to set that variable pricing strategy? Because it's important that every one of your service advisors are charging the same price, right? So we don't leave anything on the table, but we also have superior customer retention by not charging over.
Well, I think you need pricing matrices, where you have the repairs in the shop, where you have the expertise, where most independents do not, that you set that up at a different return rate and versus your competitive marketing and services, that you have to be competitive in the market, and you have a separate pricing matrix for that you take away. And the thing you need to do is, you don't want to rely on your staff to understand that and try to make the adjustment. So you need to automate it. You need to set it up within your DMS, so that it's controlled automatically when that particular service is being sold.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know I've heard all of you speak about the fact that, if we were on the sales side, the variable side, we wouldn't just have a sales consultant sell a vehicle for anything, right? They would adhere to a variable pricing strategy. And so what I hear you saying, Mike, that's just as important to do on our side as well. Does anybody have anything they want to add to that Mike had talked about related to repair variable? Great. Okay. Well, Trevor, I'd love for you, since we have an opportunity, why don't you share just a couple of tools that really kind of complement what Mike just talked about? Whether you're an experienced service director or you have a new service manager you're growing from within, to help them in setting that variable pricing strategy.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, like Mike said, first thing you need to do is start with your competitive analysis, so you know where that pricing structure needs to be. Then we need to look at, where are we flagging hours? So we want to look at, the flag times over the course of a set period of time and see, where does the dealership actually flag hours? So to do that, we have a repair frequency report that's going to filter down just to repair, taking out all the maintenance, so we can see where the dealership actually flags hours, so that we can customize that grid to hit their goals. So we can see here, roughly the dealership flags a lot of hours below 6 hours, and then they get heavy again up in this 10 to 11 hours. So now that we know that information, we can come over and we can actually build out a variable pricing strategy for repair. To do that, it's super easy inside of the software. We would start in the resource center. We have guided tours, so we would want to create a new labor matrix. It will walk our users through the steps to create that labor matrix, show us right where to click. We would create a new labor matrix, tells us a little bit about the labor matrix that we're going to create. It asks us to name it. We'll just do a demo one here. Asks us how many grid hours we would like it for. We'll go up to 20. And then we have the structure of the labor matrix. So we'll start off at 199. We'll start a flat rate at 6 hours, since we saw that's where they were flagging the most amount of hours. We will actually start to come back down in that labor matrix at 10 hours. We'll incline it by $5, decline it by $2, and set all of them to end in 97 cents. The other thing we saw was that 5/10 was used quite a bit. So we'll add some additional revenue there for revenue over 90 days, and then also annually. Now I will turn it back over to you, Maureen.
Thank you. One of the things I think about there is, right now we have EV. We have some of your dealerships in your portfolio that have heavy truck. The neat thing I see there is that you have the flexibility to do a labor grid for each and every one of them. I know, Mike, you and I have talked about how important that is, particularly like in the California market with EVs. So great job. Thank you so much. All right. So we've talked a little bit about the importance and how do we build confidence in our team with a variable pricing strategy on the repair side. Cindy, let's come to you now. So when we look at also, we need to do similar on the maintenance side of it and how we build that confidence. What are some of the things that you look at Germain, and what kind of data do you look at to help you to understand, are you priced right for maintenance in the market?
So with our VPS, or repair variable pricing strategy, in place, my dealerships can focus on consistency, competitiveness, customer value, and building a maintenance pricing strategy. And when I think about that, I think about 5 main points. One of them being the menu-based pricing, a completely transparent price for common services. I don't know, oil change, tire rotation, brake inspections, batteries, etc. And then 2, market benchmarking. Perform market research analysis, calling local competitors, price to stay competitive without undercutting profitability. 3, the OEM guidelines and warranty alignment. I need to ensure that the pricing supports the manufacturer's recommendation and that if needed, I stay warranty compliant. 4, probably bundling promotions. I need to offer service bundles, loyalty incentives, other items to increase my customer retention. And then last but not least, probably, I guess the best word is scalability. Pricing that's easily explained for the different models, the technician levels, and the regional factors, like here in the Midwest versus in the South. But the end goal is to drive customer trust, repeat business, and maintain a margin of profitability.
Absolutely love it. Interesting enough, when you talk about all of those, one of the things we talk about Dynatron is really understanding 2 key areas to help you do the 5 things you just talked about. One I love is around the virtual performance group, which is where you're able to look at like-size franchise in like-size markets, like you said, Midwest, rural versus metro, and really that ability to understand, because if customers are not coming back to us, they're likely not going to another competitive on-make dealership. They're actually going to aftermarket. So I love that you talked about not only how you shape the strategy, but how the data you need to look at is both like and as well a franchise, as well as your aftermarket. Love that. Anybody have anything they'd like to build on? Because I saw you all shaking your heads. I know there were a lot of good things that Cindy just talked about there.
Well, one thing I like what Cindy said was that you concentrate on generating profit, not percentages, because ultimately that's what we look for in this business anyhow.
Absolutely. And the ability to understand and forecast it, right? So I love that. Fantastic. All right. Well, Trevor, why don't we take a moment and, given some of those 5 strategies that Cindy just gave, maybe kind of show a couple of tools that can help the dealerships and the groups in being able to accomplish some of those strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the first places you're going to want to, check out is the virtual performance group, which again is going to compare same franchise in that, same region. So comparing apples to apples, we can see our dealership and all of our metrics, and then we got some benchmarking, so we can see the average. So right away, we see that our ELR is a little bit lower than the average, and to get that to move, we need to move our price up a little bit. And we can see we're above average, but we still have some room to grow. So then inside of the tool, we can also back test that to see what does those changes make for us as far as profitability, like Mike said. So if we come into our dealer analyzer, we could test those situations. So if we wanted to move our alignment price, or we're thinking about moving our alignment price from 144.07 to 154.97, we can put that in and we can then test that by clicking what if. And it will show us, it will do all the calculations based on our historical data, that if we didn't sell any more alignments, we just made that pricing adjustment, which we use that market research in the VPG to see, we could bring in an additional $25,000 a year in gross profit, which is ultimately what we're after. So we would use this tool along with our mystery shop results, which Maureen will cover a little bit more, but just wanted to showcase, 1, how we can see the data, and then 2, how we can back test and do those hypothetical changes for you. I'll turn it back over to you, Maureen.
Thank you, Trevor. Yeah, the mystery shop, I think, is one of the things, regardless of where you are in the country, that is absolutely critical, we feel, to data and to understand business intelligence, so that you can then also build confidence. You are looking at daily behavior. You're making sure that their repetition and their structure for them. And when we do a quarterly, we say it should be done quarterly, 5 services, pick the mileage in the vehicle. But really, it's about you selecting as a dealer, because let's say all of you have dealerships that are in different markets. You need to know for each individual dealership what aftermarket is impacting them right around their store. And so what I love about that is we work with you as a partner to make sure that you are giving us who are the ones you want to be shopped. But doing that quarterly, we know there are market. I mean, just look what's happened in the last 3 months in our markets, right? We need to understand exactly what's happening to make those decisions. So love it. Thank you. Wonderful, Cindy. Appreciate that. Well, we've talked about the importance of repair variable pricing strategy. We've talked about the importance of maintenance variable pricing strategy. Jennifer, let's talk a little bit about, from a CEO or COO perspective, and looking at all of your dealer groups. You have a lot of service advisors, and we want to make sure that we have predictability. And what is it we should have charged? What did they actually charge? And what is the difference? How do you utilize that information to really coach your service advisors and build their confidence so that they in turn can be confident to their customers?
Yeah, I mean, we can go off of gut to an extent, but we have to go off of data. So just accountability, and really, we've talked about profitability, we've talked about, our customer, but what's so important as a dealer is also developing our people. So when you have the tools to be able to have those conversations, and have those coaching and counseling moments, it could be a seasoned advisor, it could be a brand new advisor, but to be able to have a good constructive conversation around real data, as opposed to around, I feel like you're not doing it the way I want you to do it. No, I need to be consistent in my process so that I can take care of our customer in the best way. We need to be consistent in our process so that I can take care of my employees in the best way. So just that development of the person is just as important as everything else we do, and having the tools available to do that in a constructive way.
That very succinct. Thank you, Jennifer. When you really think about it, when a decision is made at the dealership level by a service advisor, often they don't understand. It seems really little, but that little incremental impact has an exponential result, not only on the customer and the company, but often they don't realize what it does for their own paycheck. So when we know their goals and where they want to develop to, we want to make sure that we can give them those kind of tools. And I would say we'd all agree that service directors really carry many hats, and they walk in the door and the life can change in a moment. How do we give them that type of data to really be able to coach their people very effectively? But really, how have you seen all of you trying to help them to take more ownership for a service advisor? Have you found that has really starting to make an impact for them individually, as well as then that obviously levels up to your groups?
Oh, absolutely. Because you can tell somebody something, all day long, but when you show them, and when you have that tool to show them, this is how it affects you. They care about the dealership to an extent, right? They care about their pride in their work. But when you, just like you said, this is how it's going to affect you and your paycheck and your family. And these are the things that you can do to improve your life. It's just a much more powerful conversation than, this is what I need you to do. This is what you could do. And this is how it would affect you.
The win-win-win. I love it always. Cindy and Mike, how about you? Anything you'd like to add there?
I'll go ahead. For new hires, a structured pricing removes guesswork. It allows them to focus on learning the process, build trust with their clients. And then for your experienced staff, it reinforces consistency. It encourages accountability. And it gives them the tools to clearly boost credibility with their clients. And I would just say, it kind of promotes in the end a growth mindset, showing that success will come from our proven system. The advisor would then understand why pricing is structured. They'll see good results. They become more engaged employees. They become more empowered employees. They'll coach others as they become proficient. And it's just kind of a culture of development and continuous improvement with a little bit of organization and help from Dynatron.
I love it. Well, thank you for that, Cindy. But I love what you were saying there because, you had touched on it, Jennifer, when you said often you think someone who's been with you 20 years and it has always done a good job is really doing great. But when you start to look at the data, it removes the emotion and it starts to help them to see, and they start to level up. And if they're leveling up, it brings up your whole team as well. Mike, you have a chance to work. Well, first of all, you are a seasoned fixed ops director yourself. I know of over 25 years, and now you're actually consulting with other dealerships. How have you found that tools like this are helping to build that confidence and being able to really kind of dare to compare? We are, in fact, perception, I think we'd all agree, is that dealerships are more expensive. We can tell you with over 4,000 dealerships, 95% more, you are not. And in addition, you have the facility, you have the tools, you have the technicians, all of the things you invest. Mike, how has that really had an impact for you in consulting?
Well, the biggest thing I say, and Cindy kind of hit it, and she used the word confidence. And a lot of our people lack confidence because we tell them this is the price, this is how you sell, this is what we want you to do, this we want you to sell it, and they don't believe in it, therefore they execute. So it's more people and process, and I think you have to start with the people that you have and develop the people, and then build that rapport and then with the reporting, you can show them based on statistical data. If you're consistent in this, we're very competitive. 2, there's value in what we do, and this is your rate of return. And when people start seeing those type of things and those numbers, they can better understand how it impacts them personally, as well as how it impacts their coworkers, including the techs in the shop and the hours produced.
Absolutely, because that goes to regardless of who a customer meets with on your drive, you want it to be that same consistent expectation that all the pricing is always the same, how they're treated is the same, right? So it really does speak to that. I love it. Thank you. Trevor, let's just share a couple of things. So if you think about this amazing team right here, how many hundreds of service advisors you're working with, what are some tools that we could show that would really help them to do that consistently every single day? Because we know if we do behavioral coaching every day for 5 minutes, that's where you really see an exponential result.
Absolutely. And I think Jennifer hit it, right on the head, is the data to support that coaching. So we've already talked about, we have our pricing established. Now, how do we ensure that our service advisors are compliant to that pricing structure we put in place? So inside our software, we actually measure pricing compliance. So we look at repair against the labor matrix. We look at the maintenance against the structured maintenance pricing. And then we show you for each service advisor, are they undercharging? Are they overcharging? We do that for parts and labor. And then we also look at what is the effect on the effective labor rate by price changes. This report is that high-level summary report. We offer an audit detail report as well, which is going to actually break it down by individual service advisors and RO. So we're going to look at each RO that had a price change so we can actually dive in and coach that service advisor. We also have many other reports, service advisor analysis reports, which are going to go far beyond that pricing structure, really just looking at all of the KPIs that we measure a service advisor on. So we give our clients all of the data that they need to properly coach those service advisors. I'll turn it back over.
Thank you, Trevor. Appreciate it. The data for us is only as good as it's actionable, right? So you all work with your coaches and using this data to really be able to help develop those good behaviors and also really support one of your most important assets, which are your service and your parts leaders, right? They have a lot on their plate and how we help them to do it. In just our last couple of minutes here, we talk about and we hear often, I have the privilege of being with a lot of dealer associations, industry things, and we really hear more than ever, we have to grow from within. So let's just give a couple of thoughts about what we've talked about today can help you to develop your team from within. And it could be somebody that you're moving into a service advisor role or into a management role. How are some of the things we talked about today? what would be your final thoughts as how that helps you to develop your people from within? Why don't we start with you, Jennifer?
Yeah. So, I mean, you talked about putting somebody in a manager role, right? What I love about Dynatron is it's like wraparound services, right? Because you have your performance coach, you have your, all of your data, and that data can be overwhelming. So to have the opportunity to have the coach to walk you through, but now with this new platform, it sometimes I always say you don't know what you don't know, right? It shows you everything you need to know, and it gives it at your fingertips, and it makes it so much easier to say, okay, I need to focus on this. Look, this is becoming a problem here. And so, whether it is a seasoned manager, whether it is a new manager, just having those tools and having that ability and that partnership, because it is a partnership. It makes developing people even easier, because it can be a tough job to develop, bringing somebody into that service manager position. There's a lot of data. There are a lot of numbers. It is very data driven, and to have that right there and have the availability to have it at your fingertips and have the support, it's huge.
Thank you, Jennifer. Mike, how about you?
Well, the reason why they have speedometers in cars so you can figure out how fast you're going to go. So
I love that.
and the way I look at it is data's such a free, and that's the core to anything. It's where you start and where you want to get, and then you plot it. Even before technology, I used to call them 10 books, and I plotted every move so that I can effectively communicate with the staff where we stand, where we want to go, and how we're going to get there. And I've used that throughout my entire career, and you get better buy-in from your staff when they know exactly how the machine is to move.
Thank you, Mike. Cindy, how about you?
I'm going to tell you a story. So return on investment was taught to me at a very young age. I lived on a family farm, and we had ledger books where we had to enter information and manually calculate our return on investment. My father did an excellent job training me for this job. I can't imagine trying to calculate 20 stores and all the different measurements manually. I have it at my fingertips with Dynatron. I have a coach that I can call at any time and say, gosh, I'm feeling this and I can't find it. Can you help me find it? And even yesterday, I had a 2-minute session in between his sessions where I said, here's my problem. I'm not finding it fast enough. And we teamed, and he had the answer just like that. There has never been an easier tool to work with. I love that the managers love attending the coaching sessions. I love that the advisors are getting their own sign-ins and looking at their own data and trying to improve their own data. Really, I'm training those people to become service managers. Yeah. So, that I just don't know how I would do it without the tool. My father would have loved this.
That is such a great way to say it, right? Is when you really think about it, it's really making it so daily you're building those skill sets, right? And building that confidence. And more than ever right now, I know a lot went into the new ROI about making it so that it was intuitive, that it really helped them in a daily checklist of a new service manager. Frankly, I will tell you, our most senior service managers and fixed ops corporate directors will say, I love it myself. It tells you where to go, what reports to look at, what are things you should think about when you're looking at a variable pricing strategy. There are like 5 different kinds of grids. What one's right for you in your market? It's going to be different for everyone. So Trevor, bravo to the team. They've done a really amazing job. I'm excited for everybody to be able to see it. I just would leave with the thought that, it starts with us, our confidence, our excitement. I could not be more excited to be in the fixed operations business. I was just with a group of dealers in the Texas Auto Dealer Association, and we just talked about all of the metrics. When Boston Consulting got up and talked, we're down in every area but fixed operations. So we know that we're going to have to be that even bigger anchor for profitability and gross profit in our stores. And so our excitement is really, you need us now more than ever for us to work together to make it happen. So we appreciate the opportunity, Ted, as always, to come in. I always find it to be so educational. Could not thank Cindy and Jennifer and Mike and Trevor for joining today, to really talk about some tangible things literally tomorrow you could do that will make a difference in your profitability or fixed operations. So love it. Thank you so much. Ted,
Great
back
work.
over to you.
Maureen and Trevor, congratulations on all the success Dynatron is having. It's a great impact on the entire fixed operations franchise dealer industry. I want to thank again today Mike Weldon, Cindy Lentz, Jennifer Swope for your time today and being with us on the roundtable. And Maureen, great information as always, and thank you for unveiling those visuals for us. And excited to see where this goes next, Maureen.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody, the Dynatron software A-list panel here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.